a drowning. This life was spared because someone was willing to share the breath of life. A non-breathing victim needs oxygen, and he needs it immediately. Mouth-to-mouth breathing is the only known method of emergency resuscitation which supplies oxygen without a loss of time. You use less than a quarter of the oxygen you breathe in. Air contains 21% oxygen. Your exhaled air still has 16%. This slightly lower oxygen content is not as important as the speed with which you get it to the lungs. And once learned, mouth-to-mouth breathing is as easy as blowing up a balloon. These students are being taught the basic steps of mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The chart shows that during normal breathing, the air passages are open. If someone becomes unconscious, the tongue, which is attached to the jaw, often falls back against the throat and blocks the air passage. When the neck is lifted and the head is tilted back, the tongue is drawn forward to open the air passage. Various methods can be used to open the air passage. You can insert the thumb in the mouth and lift the jaw. Or you can push the jaw upward. But the simplest way is the head tilt method of lifting the neck and tilting the head back. Opening the air passage is always the first step in resuscitation, and sometimes this alone will enable the victim to breathe by himself. Mouth-to-mouth breathing can be demonstrated on a training mannequin. First, lift the neck and tilt the head back. Seal the nose to prevent air from escaping. Open your mouth widely and make a tight seal around the mouth. Blow forcefully until the chest rises. Remove your mouth to let the victim exhale. Repeat every 3 to 5 seconds. More important than an exact rate is a full inflation with each breath. It is also possible to seal the nose with your cheek when you do mouth-to-mouth breathing. If the head is tilted back, but the chest does not rise when you blow into the mouth, quickly clear the throat with the index finger. When you see the chest rise and hear the victim exhale, you know that the lungs are being inflated. Mouth-to-nose breathing is an alternate method to mouth-to-mouth. In this case, the hand is placed under the jaw to keep the lips closed and to maintain the head in the tilted position. A pillow under the head flexes the neck and may cause obstruction of the air passage. Always remove it before attempting resuscitation. Children can easily learn how to give artificial respiration by the mouth-to-mouth method. Here, a young boy practices on a classmate. He lifts the neck, tilts the head back, then pinches the nose. He takes deep breaths and blows until the chest rises. Although he's practicing on someone his own size, he could readily inflate the lungs of an adult if necessary. Here each student has a chance to practice the correct procedure under supervision. An antiseptic solution can be used to cleanse the mannequin between students. In young children, the leading cause of accidental death is suffocation. A baby mannequin can be used to teach the resuscitation of infants. The procedure is the same as for adults, except that the rescuer covers the baby's mouth and nose when he blows in. Also, the rate is slightly faster, about every 2 or 3 seconds. Infants commonly choke on food or foreign objects. If the chest does not rise, quickly invert the child over your arm. Deliver firm blows between the shoulder blades until the object is dislodged. Then, quickly resume resuscitation. If air distends the stomach, expel it by pressing on the upper abdomen. The head is turned to the side to prevent possible aspiration of stomach contents. No special equipment is needed to do mouth-to-mouth breathing. If you wish, you can use a handkerchief or cloth over the mouth to avoid direct contact. Medical personnel and professional rescuers entrusted with the care of the public can use airway breathing aids. However, time never should be lost seeking any breathing device. Always remember these basic steps. Lift the neck and tilt the head back. Pinch the nose. Make a tight seal around the mouth. Blow until the chest rises. Now here are some real-life scenes where mouth-to-mouth breathing can be used to save a life. Lift the neck and tilt the head back. Pinch the nose and breathe for the victim. When an object is stuck in the throat and the chest does not rise, turn the victim on the side and deliver firm blows between the shoulder blades. Sweep your finger quickly through the mouth to remove any foreign matter dislodged. Continue mouth-to-mouth breathing. Even though the fingers are used to pinch the nose, the head is always held back with the wrist. Take deep breaths. You are breathing for 2 people. A return of natural color and breathing are signs of a successful rescue. Always begin mouth-to-mouth breathing as soon as possible. Water cannot be drained from the lungs, so do not waste time on such maneuvers. The steps are simple and sure. Neck lifted, head back, nose sealed. Now inflate the lungs. A drowning victim often swallows large amounts of water. After mouth-to-mouth breathing is well established, you can quickly turn the victim on the side and apply pressure on the upper abdomen. After a victim has been revived, there is always a risk of her becoming sick to the stomach. If left on her back, she could choke. After any resuscitation, it is best to turn the victim on her side and to maintain this position until medical help is available. Must act quickly to save a life. The brain cannot survive for more than 3 to 5 minutes without oxygen. Mouth-to-mouth breathing is first aid. Always send for help as soon as possible. Keep the head well back to maintain an open air passage. Everyone can learn how to give someone a second chance to live. Use of this life-saving knowledge can bring back the breath of life.
Hello everybody, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show. So that was Breath of Life. I have many versions of this. I have New Breath of Life, and then I have a revised version of that, and then I think a third edition of that, because they kept changing information about CPR. And that one featured Art Linkletter. Kids Say the Darndest Things, the guys whose face used to appear on the $10,000, I think it was the $10,000 bill on the Game of Life. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but while I was collecting 16mm films, I was going to a lot of state surplus auctions in North Carolina, and ended up with probably 23, 24 CPR dummies that I got from a local community college that I had at my house with a bunch of guys. And so there were the Resusci Annies. There were these kind of knockoff, it's called Resusci Janes. There were Resusci Juniors, which was a little boy that you could throw him in the pool and he would sink to the bottom and drown, and you could rescue him. Then we had some Resusci Babies as well. And I had a bunch of marching band uniforms, so we would dress them up. Anyhow, and I did a show that was about CPR, involving films, marching bands. It was called CPR Beats a Stopping Heart. And the premise of it was that there was a band competition, and there was a thunderstorm that came through, and somebody got struck by lightning, and then you had to resuscitate them. And then if you won, if you did that, then you would get a bar of band candy. I did that show twice, once in North Carolina and once in Baltimore, Maryland. It was a very odd show. Anyhow, 16mm films, that's what we do, that's what we watch, that's what we collect. I should say I only have probably 3 of the CPR dummies left. When I moved, I got rid of a lot of them and sold them to other people. I actually used a couple in a Halloween show I did at the Alamo last Halloween. So I don't have as many anymore, so nobody freak out. Anyhow, yeah, so this next film that we have is actually on film, 16mm. And this is a telecine that we use to transfer it. So we're going to go ahead and watch Forests of the Night, which is a title that you're like, what is this? Is this a wildlife film? Well, not really, but maybe it is. Here we go.
Most law enforcement officers are well aware of the urgent problems posed by drugs in our society. The effectiveness of the police officer in combating this problem depends in large measure on his ability to recognize the signs of illegal drug activity and to interpret what he sees. The law enforcement officer is the front line in our war against drug abuse.
Many law enforcement officers assume that it is easy to identify the junkies and the pushers. Much of what they read an exaggerated view of what things are like on the street. When you're cruising through the streets at night, there isn't any obvious way to identify the users or the...
The fact of the matter is there are certain types of behavior, signposts, that can help to alert the law enforcement officer to the possibility of illegal drug activity.
The drug addict in search of easy money to support his habit will often linger around parked cars looking for an open door, a key in a lock, or an article of value left on the back seat. Something he can obtain quickly and easily with a minimum of risk. He hovers close to the cars, casting covered glances at vehicles, and often wanders back and forth in the same area, seeking to appear as inconspicuous as possible. The police officer should be suspicious of the individual who enters and leaves a succession of stores on the same block, spending a few minutes in each store. He is probably searching for easy shoplifting opportunities. Officer also learns to pay special attention to the individual who is inappropriately dressed. The long-sleeved sweater in extremely warm weather often serves to cover the telltale needle marks of the drug addict. Another example of behavior that should be of interest to the patrolling officer is the wearing of dark glasses during the twilight hours. Sudden temper flare-ups or the attempt to borrow money from strangers are also signs indicating the possibility of the presence of narcotics. Law enforcement officers should pay special attention to the loiterer who occupies a street corner over an extended period of time. He is furtive and suspicious of all street traffic. He engages in brief, hurried conversations with occasional passers-by. There are often two such individuals working on the same corner, operating as a team. They usually stand just above a sewer, which can provide a convenient place for the rapid disposal of narcotics. Once a suspect has attracted the attention of the police officer, it is essential that the officer be able to identify the signs of drug abuse. He can learn to identify a shuffling or ambling gait.
Wasn't anything that they removed from my pockets.
Did the officer show these drugs to you?
No,
show you anything?
No, sir.
During interrogation, the officer should examine the individual's arms for the telltale marks of the needle. Very often, the individual will deny the currency of these scars, but a careful examination by a qualified physician can easily ascertain the facts.
Let's see your arms. The last time you used narcotics was when?
About 3 months.
How do you account for all these new marks?
They're getting old now.
What about on the back of your hand?
Oh, this is a scratch. It's not a needle mark.
What about here?
It's,
What about right here?
right here?
Yes, sir.
You know, some of the needle marks and some aren't.
What about the bend of the elbow? What are those?
Well, this is where I used to, when I did use them.
Among the other physical signs of narcotics addiction is the stumbling and overstepping walk. The individual often acts intoxicated, but there is no odor of alcohol.
What were you doing when you were picked up, Steve?
I was kicking cars, denting them, creating a little sort of disturbance. I was a little angry because I saw some policemen arrest some kids for loitering when they were just standing on the sidewalk, you know.
The suspect may reveal clear evidence of being in the midst of a bad trip reaction. He seems out of it, distracted, and at times listening to other voices. His thoughts wander. His speech can be incoherent, and he shows great difficulty in focusing his attention on the interrogation.
A bad situation. I see a lot of things that disturb me, and it started to flip me out.
Steve, when you were arrested then, did you realize what was happening? Could you have prevented it?
Well, I already went and created quite a disturbance. I suppose they were curious as to what was wrong with me. I wasn't exactly making much sense. I just looked sort of...
The subject often seems to be talking to himself, complaining of difficulty in breathing and other unrelated physical symptoms.
I'm pretty sick for a moment. It's hard to breathe. Just, it's psychological because it's caused by the acid, but things that bother me, it's making it hard to breathe. Just every once in a while.
Hey. Steve, was this your first time being arrested?
Depending upon which drug is being used, other symptoms of drug abuse can be observed. Some individuals may show a dull and sleepy appearance.
Sterling, this morning you were arrested for tampering with an auto. Do you understand the charges against you?
Yes, sir.
What were you doing this morning at that time?
Well, I was trying to get me some money so I could get me a fix. Because I was kind of sick this morning and I didn't have my shot when I woke up.
How long have you been using drugs?
3 years.
What are you using?
I use heroin.
When the last time you took off?
Well, the last time I took off was last night.
About what time last night?
About 11 o'clock.
How long did your shot last?
It usually lasts maybe a couple of hours. Sometimes I go to sleep on it.
How much is your shot?
My shot is usually $10 a day.
The suspect may sweat profusely, regardless of the temperature of the room. This can be indicative of a user who is in need of a fix.
I'm sick and I really need a fix now.
If he is on speed, pure crystal methadone, he will often appear nervous, jumpy, or overly excitable.
Where are you living now?
I told the officers where I lived when I was picked up.
What was that address?
1875 Mintwood.
How long have you lived there?
A couple of weeks.
Who do you live with?
Some other people. I mean, like, you know, I don't see why, you know, that has to be gotten into.
He is unusually responsive to sudden sounds and other external stimuli, such as light and noise.
A couple people.
These symptoms remain and reveal themselves throughout any lengthy conversation.
Same type of work you do?
No.
What type of work?
I don't know. Secretary or something.
The eyes are often extremely bloodshot and the pupils contracted.
I told you, just a couple of people.
You and who else?
Just a couple of other people, that's all.
man.
The person who is on speed may evidence hostility and avoids any direct contact with the interrogating officer.
What, whose business is that? I mean, like, I live there. I'm not doing anything wrong by living there.
How much rent do you pay?
I don't see what that's got to do with it.
Well, it has quite a bit to do with it. When the last time you actually held a job in this city?
What?
The world of the drug user has been described as a forest enveloped by perpetual night. If we are to effectively combat drug abuse and treat its victims, it is essential that the police officer be able to identify both user and pusher.
The ability to recognize the less obvious behavior patterns and to identify the physical signs that call attention to the drug user are a major factor in our ability to successfully cope with the rising tide of illegal drugs and their use. The law enforcement officer is a major element in our continuing efforts to meet this problem. It is his knowledge and skill as a trained professional that will help decide the outcome of this crucial struggle.
All right, that was a little bit of a downer. It's interesting, since this film was made for police officers and probably civic folks, probably not shown to kids, not shown to high school students, but maybe nurses. It's an interesting thing because at one point it's like, to help the victims of drug abuse, we have to identify them. But then there's also this whole thing about, looking at them as, criminals for using the drugs when it's, in fact, at this point, they're just so addicted that they're not making rational decisions. My father was a drug educator, so he was the type of person that would educate in schools and things like that. And, he always thought that this kind of harsh treatment was really what was perpetuating the secretiveness and really treating these people with their addiction problems was the issue. And this over-the-top legal kind of sending people to jail who have addiction problems was not helping the problem at all. So we go from something that's unsettling in one way to unsettling in another way. Let's go to the circus. Clown warnings.
To the magic world of sawdust and spangles.
Come over closer, folks. Right up here. For here's where the freaks and wonders are. Like Peter May, Snake Charmer Extraordinary. And the Hula Hula Dancers. plenty of time to see the sideshows before the matinee goes on.
Let's leave them to buy tickets and let them go into the big top the ordinary way. I'm going to take you backstage where show folk perform. Here's where magic is made, where clowns create their official funny faces for your enjoyment, where they work hard twice a day before each show. Every clown an artist in his own right, rushing to be ready as soon as the whistle blows. The circus backyard, peopled by a big international family. An open-air backstage where every artist waits tensely for his cue or limbers up for his act like this one.
Children of all ages, we proudly present a new edition of your favorite show. Introducing first, the Oriental Pageant.
Wish we'd had more time outside to see these people polish and repolish their act. Precision, timing, and grace. Watch her balance that glass of water on her forehead. You know, I've seen her miss this, but today she's fine. Control, perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Presenting the three-ring ballet of the elephants, 184,000 pounds of pachydermic pulchritude.
Pachydermic pulchritude. No words are long enough or big enough to describe the way circus folks feel in their hearts about their elephants, the backbone and mainstay of every circus. And while the show goes on under the big top, the waiting goes on in the backyard.
Presenting Margot and her spirited team of the world's finest Liberty horses.
You never guess that Margot's nervous, but she is. This is her first year with the show. She knows that the horses respond only to the crack of her whip. If she misses a single cue, the act will be ruined. You can be sure she appreciates your applause. While every kid in the audience wishes he could roller skate like this, the next act is waiting backstage.
Gilded butterflies, stand by.
Human butterflies. That's what they are, all right. These granddaughters of the spangled queens of yesteryear, whose act they're here reviving, in spite of its great danger. This is the traditional and beautiful Iron Jaw act.
Ladies and gentlemen, your kind attention please. Presenting a kaleidoscopic whirlwind of cycling and acrobatic sensation.
Backstage, the ballet has made one more quick costume change. Now they're standing by for yet another dangerously high aerial spectacle which follows the clown parade. And here it is, the high perch act, billed as the epitome of poetry in the upper reaches of the canvas dome. The show goes on. Parallel bars, acrobats, and clowns. A good circus show seems simple and spontaneous, but there's a lot of rehearsing and timing behind it.
A beautiful corps de ballet, extravaganza of the air, the daring and thrilling Spanish Web.
When you see the funny men running around, you know that the ring is being made ready for some special event.
Presenting the tumbling, dancing, somersaulting artist on the Silver Strand, Congalino, originator of the famous forward somersault on the tight wire.
Watch for it. The forward somersault, always unpredictable.
Proudly introducing the final presentation of the day, the outstanding circus thrill of all time, the human projectiles, Donaldo and Silvana Zappini, shot from the mouth of this monster cannon.
I don't know why you guys are afraid of clowns. I'm trying to figure it. I mean, they are grotesque, and they're based on devils from medieval times. So, yeah, maybe that's what it is. They're loud. I get it. I guess. But thank you, Kevin, for donating some coffee. That's one way to support us for traumatizing you every day, is with some coffee. So thank you, Kevin. He's a local supporter who I miss seeing because he used to come to all my shows, and then he would come to other screenings at the Alamo, and so I miss his face. So thank you, Kevin. So the importance of taking notes. Or making notes. Here we go.
This is station WNMP. This is where I learned the real value of making notes. This is my notebook. I'm pretty proud of it now. And it's become a good friend to me. You know why? Well, did you ever ask questions like, what's the assignment? Where did you? Well, I used to ask questions like those. Now I look in my notebook. You see how it's organized? Behind that, the notes on each day's class discussion and reading, beginning with the first day that I took notes. That's a long time ago. Don't look at these notes. Here, these are better. You can see they're good notes now. And here's the story of how they got that way. It began at WNMP. Eddie and I visited the station to prepare a report for the class on news broadcasting. Boy, was it interesting. Eddie kept busy taking notes. And the next day, in class, and it sure was interesting. We saw a lot of interesting things. We saw the control room and the studios and the newsroom. You know, I wish that you all could see it.
Wasn't he so funny? Goodness. All right, Eddie.
On our trip, we had a chance to go behind the scenes, to actually see how a news broadcast is organized. As you know, the announcer reads from a specially prepared script. But what goes on behind this script? In one room of the studio called the wire room, the teletypes are constantly busy, bringing in news bulletins from the various wire services. WNMP has 2 of these.
How did he remember all that information? How did he organize it so well? Could it be the notes on those cards? Well, I began to wonder about notes. To wonder whether they would help me. Look at Jane. No notes for her. Would she learn by just listening? And Jim. He looks as though he's trying to write down every word. But Mary took notes in a different way. She would listen, think, and then write. Would she learn more that way? Would notes really help you learn? Well, I got my answer when Eddie finished his talk.
Are there any questions? Yes?
You said there are teletype machines, blank, 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 from the wire services. I missed the middle part.
Well, Jim, I don't recall exactly what I said, but the teletype machines are going all the time, bringing in bulletins from the news services. Yes?
Do the announcers work with the writers in preparing comments on the news?
Well, some of them do, and some prepare their own scripts. Yes?
How do they get the news?
Didn't I just cover that?
Well, there it was, as clear as anything. No notes, not much learning. Well, if you try to copy down every word, well, you don't get the ideas, do you? But if you make notes, outline the key ideas, that's the way. Taking good notes helps you understand and remember what is said. And that meant to me that I'd have to start taking notes. I was sure going to need some help, though. Well, Eddie had good notes. Maybe he'd show me the way he does it. We went to one of the library conference rooms, where we could talk without disturbing anyone. Well, we had a new reading assignment for that social studies course. But before he got into that, Eddie went back over his notes on our class discussion, what I'd said and what he'd said. Didn't look like much. Eddie showed me, though, how he used abbreviations to save time, and how the notes were a little disorganized because the discussion was a bit disorganized. But in a few minutes, Eddie had those notes in shape. Rewriting them that way gave him a neat, permanent record of the discussion and helped him remember it. Reading the notes, I began to remember more, too. Now, what's this? There was the reading assignment, all written out. No mistakes about what to read or when. But as we got into that reading assignment, I noticed Eddie wasn't making notes. He read all the way to the end of the chapter. And then he paused a minute, thinking through all he had read. He kept talking about remembering the purpose of your reading. purpose of your reading? Oh, yes. To find the effect of the Federal Communications Commission on radio news broadcasts. All right. I read with that in mind. And do you know, the important material just stood right out from the page. Well, I could see then how to find the important ideas in reading. But just what do you write down? Eddie showed me. FCC licenses wavelengths. Renewals every 6 months. Yes, finding and recording the important ideas in your own words. That's what note-taking is. Remembering your purpose is one way to find those important ideas. There are other cues to use in reading, too. Watch for bold type headings, summary sentences, numbered lists of items, for they tell you what the author thinks is important. And these cues helped Eddie plan out his notes. So I made up my mind to remember my purpose and to watch for cues, both in reading and in listening. For the same thing works well in class.
So we see that radio broadcasting is controlled in 3 ways. By the public, by the sponsor and the station management, and by the government through the power...
Yes, it worked. By listening with purpose in mind, and by following cues, I was able to pick out the important ideas, and the sub-ideas just fell into place. Then, later, when I had a chance, I rewrote my class notes in permanent form. Yes, my notes were beginning to be complete, and better organized, and more useful. Whenever I needed to review my work, whenever I had an exam to prepare for, I'd bring out my notebook, and it was a lot easier than before. I've found, too, that I remember more, even without referring to my notes. So there it is, my notebook. I fixed it up a bit to make it neater, better organized. So now it's a book I'm proud of, a book I'm glad I have. Well, that's the story. Notes have made a difference for me, and they can for you, too. Make a note of that, will you?
Make a note of that, will you? Love those cornet films. So great. One last film today. This was part of that Magic Moments Let's Go series. The Encyclopedia Britannica series that came out in the late 60s, like 69 and 70. It features all these little interesting vignettes that kids love and drive adults crazy. So here's Clap. Enjoy. Yay! Not the clap. It's clap. That footage of the three kids in the little band, marching band, where one kid is dressed as Superman, one is dressed as a French foreign Legion soldier, and one is dressed in football uniform. So good. So good. Again, this is designed to provoke a response from kids watching it and have them talk about what they saw. And adults have a very low threshold for that. I found when I show this film, people are just like, what was the point of that? Why would they show that to kids? And I'm like, yeah, just think back. Think back. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in today. So we'll be doing 2 live shows, one tomorrow, one Thursday, and then Friday I'm going to have a guest curator. The AV Geeks Blender is going to curate a bunch of Christmas clips from the archivalclips.com stock footage site. So basically, we sell stock footage of our films, and we have people go and describe the films and come up with keywords. And so what we did is we picked all the clips that have keywords that say Christmas or Noel or Santa, and we just smushed them all together, and they're going to play thanks to the AV Geeks Blender. And it is going to be lots of home movies of Christmas. It's going to be lots of educational films that deal with Christmas, all clipped up into little tiny segments, little tiny bites. And it's going to run without me, because I'll be in my pajamas sipping coffee and not, enjoying Christmas. So anyways, so that's what's happening on Friday. It might be completely unwatchable. It might be really soothing for you. It kind of depends. But, yeah. The Christmas stuff, the footage of all the home movie Christmas stuff is kind of sweet. You get to see what everybody got for Christmas. But thanks again, everybody, for tuning in today. It's always great to see your comments. And thank you for the coffee. You can support AV Geeks by buying us coffee. Also, you can hit like. That seems to help with how other people discover us, is that YouTube says, oh, a bunch of people like this, so maybe I should show this to other people who are similar to the users. It's all this privacy data mining that they do that somehow gets more eyeballs on my stuff. I don't know. I really don't know. Anyways, you can also go to avgeeks.com and see other things that we put online. And yeah, everybody have a good rest of your day today. I'm going to go get a McRib. It's going to be delicious. As always, please rewind and love each other. And we will see you again tomorrow. Take care.